Welcome back, everybody. Today is a new patch day. Looks like they actually patched the game before TI one last time. We got 7.34D. So we're going to be doing a quick recap, also doubling as a bit of a meta update in terms of where I think a lot of these heroes are going to stand after this last letter patch before TI. So there's been some small item changes. You can see them here. I think for the most part, they were good little tweaks, but nothing major. I think the only big item change we saw was Ninja Gear, which as a neutral item was often used to use the smoke, swap back in another neutral item into your inventory, and it was just really lame in the late game. It was really hard to find targets, and I actually think that was a large reason why these like assassination carries were so important, is because the second heroes reveal themselves, you just kill them. So I do think this has a drastic impact on the late game when it comes to like hunting supports that were using Ninja Gears and stuff, but they don't want to keep it in their inventory during fights. So we got a bunch of different changes. I'm going to highlight basically the ones that I think are meaningful as I scroll down. So Arc Warden, I think we might be seeing him a lot more mid. For the same reason we see Earth Spirit, he has an ability that now very easily secures creeps reliably. And I think that giving a hero like Arc Warden, he has a lot of momentum now with the way Tempest Double has been buffed at level 6. And then he now has a way to get there more reliably with the Spark Wraith buff. Bounty Hunter. I am going to be trying him as a carry, maybe as an offlane. You cannot underestimate the effect of base attack time increases on their laning phase, as well as like their ability to actually scale later into the game. Brewmaster, the big change for him, in my opinion, is the fact that Aghanim Shard Cancel now makes you always reappear at the Earth Panda first, then Wind, then Fire, then Void, I believe. And in the past, what you could do is you could choose your Wind Panda as the hero, as the panda, run it away, and then siege base with the Earth Panda. And you could just end the game that way. So you can't do that anymore. So it's a huge nerf to his like ability to end the game. And people were kind of just cheesing games by buying Octarine AC and just sending the Earth Panda at racks. And now you can't do that anymore. Chaos Knight, we have creep damage multiplier, actually all the way to 1.9. So Chaos Knight's been seeing a lot of play in my games recently, and he has a really high win rate across every bracket. So I would say that Chaos Knight is sufficiently broken now. I actually think that this hero was already pretty good, and he was kind of masked by the fact that PA and Sven were really strong, and specifically Sven, because Sven, you know, with his AoE cleavage, was very good against all illusion heroes, including CK. So the fact that, spoiler alert, these other meta carries got nerfed, and CK was already rising into prominence before this, I think CK is going to be played a lot at the carry role. Maybe offlane, but largely the carry role. I actually want to try Crystal Maiden with this shard. I think it's been buffed enough to the point where as a support, you're happy to get the shard from Tormentor. I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't nerf the melee mids. We talked about those really dictating the meta. They didn't really nerf them much at all. Like Earth Spirit, Earth Shaker, Primal Beast barely got nerfed. And the only one that really got nerfed, as we'll see later, is Pangolier. And I think he'll still see play. So I think the mid-meta will still be a lot about these heroes, but we also have a few more comments as we see other changes. Enigma, he now has 100% uptime on demonic summoning. So we're looking at 40-second duration, 40-second cooldown ability that also gives you less bounty for killing them. So the fact that it now costs him HP to use this ability, I have to imagine that the only limiting factor for him is going to be health. So what that means is, in my opinion, is that he will be a support. I think a 5 or a 4, and he will buy Tranquil Boots pretty early. Maybe like Tranquil Boots Basilius kind of thing. And I genuinely believe this hero will be very strong. I think this is enough. Going from 60 seconds to 40 seconds level 1 with 100% uptime now. I mean, in the past, you just had 20 seconds where you're just an Enigma with like 40 base damage, right? But now you have these guys all the time, anytime, as long as you know how to micro. Another nerf to Gyrocopter. I think he was already like a top B tier carry last patch. I think he's just slowly but surely plummeting in the ranks. So Huskar was already seeing a lot of play as well. We talked about the meta being melee brawling mids, and then people that are good against melee brawling mids. And Huskar has always traditionally shit on melee mids, so now he's going to shit on them even harder, because the way he shits on them is by shoving them out of lane with Burning Spear. And this not only buffs his laning phase, but it also buffs the entire game for him. So yeah, I think Huskar, you know, he's going to see a lot of play. Prepare yourselves. Be careful about picking the melee mids with Huskar in the pool. I imagine if you do not watch this video, or even if you do, you might forget that you will lose at least a few games to a last pick Huskar because you picked a melee mid. So be very wary of this. Voker with slight nerfs. I see 2 carries I love playing. Lifestealer with, this is a bit of a typo. It was 1.7 after the C patch. So another slight buff to Feast. So across 2 patches, this is the buff he received. I do think that Lifestealer was good against Sven, and he's also good against CK. So there's just heroes that concern me. He's not the greatest against Faceless Void. He's not the greatest against Slark. He wasn't very good against PA, but he's getting buffed. These other heroes are getting nerfed, and heroes that he is good against are getting buffed. We might see more Lifestealer. I always love picking myself some Lifestealer. I'm really leaning towards like the Armlet Radiance build as a way for him to scale into the late game. Luna, hero that I had predicted to be very strong previous patch, and at the end of the day, she just got outshined by all the other meta carries, meaning that Gyro, Sven, and PA were just better. That's really how it felt. But now, this time for sure, with Moonglaves getting pretty buffed, Aghanim Shard, which is a lot of her late game scaling and the ability to actually stand her ground, which is a problem Luna has traditionally always had, is getting buffed. This time, for sure, I will be picking Luna. And I think she'll be pretty strong. Magnus, honestly, pretty sizable buff for like offlane mag or support mag. Marcy, I'm not sure if this makes her a core, but this is a really nice quality of life buff for sidekick. Nature's Prophet, I think, is officially like a B, C tier support, losing 40 HP level 1, and then Sprout being his main source of harass, being longer cooldown at lower levels. Ogre Magi, will he become another Treant Protector? Will he be a melee 5 that bullies people and buffs them up? Will that happen? It's looking a bit like it, but I still think it's not quite enough. Could he also be an offlane? To be honest with you guys, I think the majority of the time that people play Ogre Core, all they do is they've got their hand in their pants and they're just thinking like, oh my god, I want to get that 4x multicast Midas so fucking bad. Oh yeah. And at the end of the day, they often don't actually do very much in the game. So for the sake of the Dota community, Ogre Magi is still dog shit. Don't pick it and don't buy a Midas. Pangolier. So we talked about Pangolier being the only really melee mid that got nerfed. The most powerful part about this hero is that he can swashbuckle with Diffusal. That is the most broken part. He's a universal hero that can buy pretty much any item in the game. He can go Ags, Manta, literally anything he wants, and it gives him damage. And then Swashbuckle with Diffusal is just super obnoxious in the mid game. Everybody was buying Mana Boots on Pangolier anyways. Maybe it makes it so you have to buy Mana Boots instead of most of the time. I can't really imagine this being too much, you know? I think this hero may not be first pickable anymore, but I think we'll still see Pango. So get your Huskar Burning Spears ready, you know? Instead of your pitchforks as a riot, we're getting our Huskar Burning Spears ready for the freaking Pangoliers. Phantom Assassin. Oh, yes, this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. Phantom Assassin, yes. So we did the math. Vanish radius going from 400 to 500. That means you now detect her at 500 range instead of 400. We're talking about the area of a circle. You can now find her at 50% more area. So it's not nearly as difficult to detect PA. And then her Aghanim Scepter now made it 22 seconds on blur instead of 10. It means that on the map, you still have permanent blur, but it also means that you, in fights, can't just spam it every 10 seconds. So it is a significant nerf overall to the Aghanim Scepter and blur as a whole, which really was the unfun part of PA, right? Kill one guy, reset your cooldowns, kill another guy. She still does that. But at least, you know, Aghanim Scepter, the Vanish buffer, instead of being a second, is now 0.5. And, you know, if she's not killing people, the Vanish is now 22 seconds. And you can find her at 500 radius. And her crit chance got decreased by effectively 15%. So I do think PA will still see play. But prior to today, she was being seen first picked every game. So I do not think that is the case anymore. Primal Beast, slight nerf. We talked about him being another melee mid. Keep your burning spears ready. Pugna, Thompson, Bat Chest, Pugna. The numbers have been buffed to do instead of 170 damage at max level, it is now 220 to towers. And then Decrep is 75 extra cast range at all levels. So they've buffed Nether Blast cast range, like in previous patches. They've buffed Decrepify cast range. So this hero already buys Aether Lens, and he's already basically getting free parts of an Aether Lens. I have moved him to my mid-hero pool because Thompson is my idol. He is my favorite streamer. He is the best god gamer, and I will emulate him and lose. But it's going to be fun, and I believe it actually might be good, so we're going to try it out. Spectre getting a pretty sizable, like, early game cooldown buff to Shadow Step. I think her landing stage is a bit of a problem, but I know other pros have been creeping up with some Spectre gameplay. With heroes like PA that have, like, the built-in break mechanic getting nerfed, you know, Spectre, maybe you have to keep her on the radar. She has, like, a babysitting 5, like a Tree or an Undying that can get her out of the laning phase. I have to believe that Spectre probably has some viability. Sven getting absolutely gutted. If Sven were a gutter, he would now be an because the gut has been done. As Sven has 4 base damage decreased, which affects his laning stage significantly. And then his god strength is reduced by 20% at all levels, which nerfs his farming, which nerfs his damage output in fights, and everything. So everything about Sven's game is significantly worse. 4 base damage is a lot, and you're also removing 20% at all levels of God Strength. So yeah, I mean, he farms slower, he does less damage in fights. I imagine, like, last picks, good Sven games still be viable. Like, he's like a 10th pick hero now. I actually think that's how far he's plummeted. Tree and Protector, the most broken 5 in all of history. He was sitting at a 57% win rate as one of the most picked heroes in my bracket, and this is all he did. Don't worry, guys, you can rest easy. He hits for 88 now instead of 90. Yeah, Tran will still see a ton of play, will be one of the most highly contested heroes at TI, and, Boar. Vengeful Spirit, pretty sizable nerfs, just like little things over time between the last few patches. I think she'll still see some play, but I think she's already kind of falling off as like a top tier meta support. Warlock, as we stated earlier, the soup is becoming less chicken and more noodle. Now, I don't even know what that means when I said it, but the slow is slightly less at max level, and the radius is also slightly less. So Weaver. I will be picking Weaver against Brewmaster. He is one of Brewmaster's worst matchups in the entire game. Brewmaster has been nerfed a little bit, and Weaver has been buffed. So I will be keeping an eye out for Brewmaster specifically, and I think it's time that Weaver has become good enough, and Brewmaster has been knocked down enough of a peg that Weaver will be picked against Brewmaster. So if you're a Weaver player, keep an eye out, because fuck those panda spammers. We're looking at you monkeys forever. So overall, just quick little update. I've adjusted my hero picks a little bit. I haven't done everything yet, so this is more of just like a glimpse into what I've done. I really want to try BH Carry. I want to try Pugna Mid. I think a lot of things have stayed the same, but meaning like the overall vibes. But the fact is, PA getting significantly nerfed along with Sven, I think drastically changes the meta because these two carries were seen in almost every single game. And so if you were good against these heroes, you were picked more, something like a TA or a Razor. If you were bad against these heroes, something like a PL, you were picked significantly less. But now, those heroes that were bad against Sven PA have risen. It is their time to shine, as CK and PL are gonna be the heroes I really believe in as my carries. I'll be trying this patch along with Luna and Lifestealer, but this is like my approximate ordering of priorities, but it will definitely be changed. I'll be posting a video sometime like early to mid next week with like a bit of an update on my carry tier list pool, so you guys can stay up to date with what I believe, you know, after a few days of experiencing this patch, that it's going to look like. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time.